This is a regular board meeting of September 23rd, 2021. It's now 4:36. We will begin roll call. Please, Mary.
President Lang,
Here.
Vice President Herrera,
Here.
Clerk Chavez,
Here.
Member Cortese,
Here.
Member Doe.
It's on his way, right, Superintendent?
Here.
Oh, here.
There he is.
Okay. All right, Brian.
Okay.
Okay,
No
thank
doubt
you.
about it.
All right, okay. Welcome to the board meeting of September 23rd, 2021. Are there any members of the public who should like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session or agenda item at this time? Seeing none, I hear none. Okay, then the board will recess to closed session. All right, I think we resume open session and 3.02 Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand up. First time we have Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so we move on to 4.01. Welcome to the board meeting of September 23rd, 2021. Member of the public, please submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district homepage at www.esuhsd.org or the link on the agenda. Please limit your written comments to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comments submitted online will be read into the record. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please note all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings to the Board of Trustees and Board Study Session are streamed live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district webpage at www.esuhsd.org under the quick links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instruction shown on the agenda and the district website. All right, move to 5.01, adoption of agenda. The superintendent and board member may request that items be removed from the agenda or for consideration and or carry to a future board meeting for consideration and or action. And thank you. And or that the board take action in a regular meeting on a subject not listed on the published agenda on an emergency basis or other basis allowed by law. Gov Code 54954.2.
Madam President,
Yes.
I know that 501 is about pulling an item off the agenda, but and item 801 is about asking to move an item.
Mhm.
But the item I want to move is before 801. So can I request that we move 701 until after public comment because our board representative is stuck in traffic?
All right, so we move 7.01 to after
10.0.
after 10, after public meeting.
There's no
no.
agenda items before public comment. So after public comment, we can, I request that we could hear from our,
Okay, that's fine.
thank
All
you.
right.
Board President.
Yes.
Item 13.02, I'd like to pull item 3 to be one of the first items to be considered.
Okay, so we want to move 13.02 before 8.01. All right. Okay. Any other item need to be removed or should be changed? All right, thank you. All right, we don't have any board special recognition And we move Student Governance Board Representative 7.01 after item 10. So now we move to since we have 5.01 already, so 8.01 we don't have to be repeated. So we're going to move to 13.02.
Item 3.
Item 13.02, which is discussion or an action to approve the contract for professional services over 25,000. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent of Business Services, and Andrea Bell, Director of General Purchasing.
Madam President, may I add a comment?
Yes.
So this is an item to approve. The recommendation is to approve a contract with Teach for America. And Member Chavez is an employee of Teach for America. Teach for America is a federal nonprofit organization, or it's organized as a nonprofit under the federal tax laws. So there's nothing from that prevents the district or this board from considering this item, but I have advised and informed Member Chavez that she should recuse herself from the room so that the board can consider it and take an action outside of her presence.
I agree, absolutely. So thank you, Board Member Chavez. All right, so Mr. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent Business for 13.02.
1302 is just contracts over 25,000. It's standard. So I'll just move to
Yeah.
approve.
It's just professional services over 25,000 and it's approve it. So
Do we have to vote on them separately because we're taking, so we vote on TFA separately and then she can come back and we vote on the rest of them?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So on the contract with Teach for America, I will move to approve.
So Board Member Herrera, second. All in favor? Aye. Except Board Chavez have to step out to refuse herself. Right, Mr. Glenn Vanderzee, please bring her back to 13.02. So now we continue to vote for 13.02.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
can if you like, yes.
all right.
Move
Yes.
for approval of the remainder of 13.02. item.
Second.
All right, moved by Board Member Herrera, second by Board Member Doe. All in favors? Aye. No abstention. The item 13.02 passed unanimously. Any other comments? If not, then we move back to, well, we don't have anything on item number 9, public hearing. We move to item 10, public members who wish to address the board. 10.01, member of the public may address of the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provision of the Brown Act Government Code Section 54954.2a and 54954.3 preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required from the board, district staff, and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. Any person may address the board any item on the meeting agenda. Person wishing to address the board must fill out speaker request from via online submission. And your comment will be read out loud as part of public meetings. Comments should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Do we have any comments from the public or Ms. Teresa Marcus?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. These are written comments submitted. The first one is from Martha Street Art Night Collective, community member. And it reads, I am representing the organization Martha Street Art Night, and we are community members from San Jose. I'm writing because I want to voice my support for maintaining your stance as a police-free district. Police do not keep us safe. In fact, police on campus actually put disabled students and students of color at higher risk of harm and trauma. Building an inclusive, more welcoming and relationship-centered environment in our schools is a key step in creating safety. When schools are communities of trust, where students, teachers, and admin know each other and talk to each other, students feel safer. Eastside Union High School District made the right call when it stood up for Black lives by eliminating police from schools. We cannot go back on that promise now. Next written comment is submitted by Angelique Doisings, a parent, and it reads, The school environment is meant to be somewhere where children can learn. They do not need police in schools that will create an environment with more anxiety and hostility. We need to support the students with the proper care and attention and get to the root of the problem to determine root causes of why they fight in the first place. We need more school counseling, not criminalization. All students deserve a safe and nurturing and equitable learning environment. We need to adopt pioneering programs such as Quiet Time Meditation Program incorporated with PE. It worked for Lowell High School. It can work for us. Put more money in the programs to help our youth thrive, not criminalize them. Thank you for your time and consideration. Next public comment is submitted by Betty Nguyen, an alumnus. My name is Betty Nguyen. I graduated from Silver Creek High School in 2015 and Stanford University in 2019. Here and abroad, communities of students are still being devastated by COVID-19. There are healthy, creative ways to channel difficult emotions and address conflict harm that may arise from extended social isolation and grief. Policing, funneling children into the school to prison pipeline, and removing youth from community support does not solve the root of the issues. In my youth, I saw amazing artists, scientists, athletes, and more be criminalized and traumatized by a system that did not care to understand our needs, our different ways of learning, nor our flourishing. With my lived experience as a child of refugees, knowing that many of these children also share similar histories of violence and displacement by law enforcement, and my professional background in community health and transformative justice, I strongly urge Eastside Union High School District to maintain your stance as a police-free district. Next comment is submitted by Bojana Tsujik, a student, and it reads, "Hello, my name is Bojana, and I'm a former student of Eastside Union High School District and community member. I'm writing because I would like to urge you to continue your commitment to Black lives by keeping police out of our schools. Children need care and resources, not authority to sweep their problems under the rug while punishing them in the process. They need to be heard and understood, instead of being seen as a nuisance where their problems they face in their daily lives is thrown to the cops. Statistically, cops have not made anything better on or off campus for that matter. California public schools have 2 times as many school police as social workers. Police violence against Black and brown communities has traumatized many young people. It is time to stop throwing all of our problems to the police. It is time to invest in our communities and our children who deserve better. We need to build communities of trust. Thank you." Next submission is submitted by, oh, it's blank. Apologies here. It's submitted by Adriana Chavez Lopez, former student, but there is no written statement. Next submission is Jeffy Khalsa, community member, and it reads as follows. "Good evening. My name is Jeffy Khalsa, and I am a concerned parent and community member in San Jose. I support maintaining your stance as a police-free district and keeping your commitment to Black Lives Matter. I am disappointed in recent media coverage that sensationalized the school fight and inappropriately depicted minors without their consent. As educators and leaders, it's your job to be proactive, proactive rather than reactive when considering what is safer for students. Both the ACLU and Santa Clara County Juvenile Justice Commission have recently released reports detailing how having police on campus endangers and harms students, and have given recommendations for holistic student safety. These include mental health counseling, restorative justice practices, and ethnic studies classes. These reports can be shared with parents and staff as a resource for community education. Instead of resource officers, let's give all kids the actual resources they need to be safe, learn, and grow." Next submission is by Crystal Calhoun, a grandparent, and it reads as follows. "Let's upfund with our tax dollars for students, with counselors, teachers of color, special education, and restorative justice. Cops do not make schools safer. They are interfering with students' learning and are very intimidating. Guns and bulletproof vests is very scary to students. Stop the police to prison pipeline." The next comment is submitted by Priya V, community member, and it reads as follows. "My name is Priya, and I'm a community member from the East Side and past Foothill De Anza student trustee. I'm writing because I want to voice my support for maintaining your stance as a police-free district. Police do not keep us safe. They actually put disabled students and students of color at higher risk of harm and trauma. Many students, especially brown and Black youth, feel unsafe around police. Other students, such as undocumented students and LGBTQ+ students, also feel unsafe due to historic over-policing of those communities. Building an inclusive, more welcoming, and relationship-centered environment in our schools is a key step in creating safety. When schools are communities of trust, where students, teachers, and admin know each other and talk to each other, students feel safer. Eastside Union High School District made the right call when it stood up for Black lives by eliminating police from schools. We cannot go back on that promise now. Thank you for your time. The next submission is Tyler Scott Morgan, community organizer. I'm writing because I would like to urge you to continue your commitment to Black lives by keeping police out of our schools. Police officers on campus don't make our students safer. Many students, especially Black and brown youth, feel unsafe around police as Black and brown communities are traumatized from police, especially many young people. We build a safe environment by building communities of trust. Students act out when they don't feel seen or supported. Social emotional support and counseling are key to understanding and addressing behavior that may be otherwise criminalized by police. Investing in resources like school counselors and relationship-centered schools are key to offering a safe environment on campus. Don't take a step back by opening the door again to continued criminalization and policing of our students. Keep your promise of standing up for Black and brown students by keeping police out of our schools. Next submission is by Alberto Camacho, staff. As a product of the Eastside Union High School District, as a community member of Eastside San Jose, and as an educator on the East Side, I'm extremely concerned with the idea of bringing back Judas, AKA cops, back on campus. We cannot work with these kids with the idea of them being problems. We have to have some sort of empathy and cariño for these kids. Trauma is often represented through coraje or rage. We, as their educators, have to educate through conversation rather than policing. Keep cops out of Eastside Union High School District and instead reinforce and support New Hope for Youth. These folks now know what it is like. These folks can relate by social emotional means. Next submission is by Delisa Gonzalez, a parent. And it reads, I am against having SROs in the schools. We need more consulting and social emotional support. That is the end of public comment, written public comment.
Thank you, Ms. Marcus.
Madam President, there are two people with their hand raised virtually with 2 minutes to speak. Delisa Gonzalez, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for giving me the word. My name is Delisa Gonzalez. I am a parent of one student in the East Side High School, but I'm also a former student of the East Side. As a parent, as a former student that have lived trauma in my house, in my community, SROs, I know that SROs are not the solution. Eastside needs to keep their promise by providing counseling, social, emotional, and research justice for these kids. We need mentors that show our kids a different way, not cops that arrest them and show them a way to prison to school pipeline. Our job as parents, as community, and your job as representatives is to believe in our kids and help them succeed and be and have an equity and successful education. Please, let's focus on that. Let's continue focusing on solving and helping our students by bringing programs that actually help, not by increasing the school to prison pipeline again. We can't do this, but we have to do it as a community. Let's understand that these kids come from a traumatized, they had been in literally like in cage, like little animals for 1.5 years. We have to give them the opportunity to express themselves, to be able to believe themselves in a good way. And the only good way that we can do it is by providing counseling, programs that talk about the culture, who they are, and programs that uplift themselves in the future. Let's keep supporting our kids. And let's not bring SROs. That's not the solution. That's not the answer that we're looking for. If we want to be successful, then let's help our kids. And let's ensure that they are successful in education and in life. No to SROs, yes to counseling, research justice, and social emotional programs. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Veronica. Veronica, are you there? If so, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. My name is Veronica Mador. Also a former student and a future parent of Eastside School children. And just like the previous speakers and the previous comments, I'm also against having and going back to our ways of resolving trauma with incarcerating our youth, with imprison them and saying they're no longer children, but they're adults. We can no longer say that, and we can no longer do that. Our children are going through grief. Our children are going to have gone through a lot of trauma and continue to go through a lot of trauma. And what you did last year was change and break that system for many of them, right? By providing more counseling, by providing more social restorative justice, by providing more social emotional. And the need right now, it seems like we need more. It is not enough with what we have, and we need to respond with more care. We need to respond with more love and not with incarceration, not that prison to the school to prison pipeline that will continue to keep them in that track. When I was a student there, I was a teen pregnancy, and and this happened in Silver Creek actually, where everything is happening, right? And the first thing that my counselor and my principal said was, go to the SRO, they can help you. And the SRO started putting, instead of providing any kind of counseling, instead of providing any support that I needed, right? My path to college, they started telling me how I was going to end up in jail, how I was going to end up with drugs, how my child was going to end up in CPS. And I hope none of other children have to go through that. Okay, having a child needed care, needed counseling. They didn't need to be scared by a police officer. Thank you.
That's all we have, Superintendent.
We have 2 members of the public that wish to speak. Next is Jacob Benitez.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Jacob, you have 2 minutes.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. My name is Jacob Benitez. I'm a Eastside alum, community member, and teacher in the Eastside. And I'm here to voice my displeasure with the idea that we want to return to SROs on campus. I want to express that I feel it is inappropriate for ESTA to be taking the position of calling for SROs to be returning. And I urge administrative leaders to continue on the path that we took last year when a student-led movement decided that they no longer wanted SROs on our campuses. That was a call to action. That was a call for us as the adults on campuses to begin to create new ways of addressing these problems and these concerns that we have. And I can say as an Eastside alum, having police on campus never prevented illicit activity on campus. It never prevented fighting. It only led to students getting arrested, and it only led to environments of fear and distrust that were abetted further by adults who sought to criminalize youth and didn't criminalize youth and not address us as members of the community who are worthy of mutual respect and of that type of understanding. I would also like to point out, we learned this week that SJPD suspended the Guardian program, so they no longer send police officers to check on our schools to make sure that we're not in the middle of an active shooting. And in my opinion, that's evidence, and it should be evidence to my colleagues that SJPD does not have student safety in mind. The fact that they would revoke this program in retaliation of our decision last year shows where they stand. They are not concerned with student safety. They are concerned with their bottom line, which is putting people in jail. Our bottom line is making sure that youth make it out of Eastside and Evergreen, and that's what we need to keep doing. So this is a call to action, and this is a call for us to do better, to make sure that our kids are taken care of and actually taken care of positively, mental health-wise, and academically. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Alberto Camacho. Alberto, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, y'all. Mr. Vandersee, it's a pleasure to see you or hear from you also. As you know, I'm a product of James Lake, class of 2015. And I'm now a current educator at Silver Creek High School, and I am firmly against having SROs back on campus. I think we should invest that resource into New Hope, right? Into different programs that allow the cultivation of the minds of these kids, right? To expand their horizons, to provide them with the support that they need, to provide them with the love and cariño that they're often looking for. And it's evident, right, that these streets are showing that, right? What are we doing wrong? What are we missing, right? We shouldn't be othering these kids. We shouldn't consider them problems. Instead of asking, you know, what their problem is, ask what are their problems? What are they going through? What circumstances? We have to remember these are kids. They're 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, right? Like these kids are developing. They need as much support as they can get. This last year, this last political 4 years that we've been through have taken a toll, right? They're trying to find ways to release, right? So we have to invest in them. Luis Rodriguez, author of Always Running, author of novels that are banned from schools, right? Highlights that he was, right? He was not scared straight from gang activity. He was cared straight. And we have to continue to do that. We have to care for these kids with the same love that we care for our own kids. You know, so I'm hoping y'all continue to take the stand that y'all know is best, and that is prioritizing the well-being of our students. I yield my time and I appreciate y'all for listening.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Next to speak is Karla Landon. Karla, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Karla Landon. Can I have my testimony in Spanish?
That's fine.
Mi nombre es Karla Landín, soy mamá de un niño en el este de San José, acaba de entrar a la high school y estoy aquí porque quiero pedir, estoy en contra de que esté la policía en las escuelas. La razón es porque creo que en vez de ser un impacto positivo va a ser algo negativo para los niños, porque si hay algún problema, en vez de confiar en las autoridades que algo pase, van a tener miedo. Creo que no es la solución. La solución creo que es tener más ayuda de salud mental en las escuelas. Es muy difícil para mí como mamá soltera y como persona de bajos ingresos agarrar salud mental con la aseguranza que tenemos porque las listas de esperas están enormes. Creo que si hubiera más ayuda para salud mental en las escuelas con terapia, con counseling, no hubiera necesidad de que hubiera policía en las escuelas. Creo que eso afectaría a los niños en no confiar en las autoridades, más bien en tenerles miedo, y creo que es más importante poner esos recursos en la salud mental de los niños. Muchas gracias.
Karla expressed that she is a mother in the East Side and is asking that the board stand by its stance against San Jose Police Department on our campuses. While some see it as a positive thing, she believes that it will be a negative. She believes that the appropriate response is to give more mental health supports and more counseling and more therapy that to be available in school. While some people think it will be a positive, she believes that their presence creates fear. As a single mom, she appreciates the wellness efforts and would ask for additional wellness efforts, therapy and school supports in our system.
Thank you. That's all for public comments. I do have.
No, we do have additional comments. This comment comes from Adriana.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Adriana, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, thank you. I was the one who wrote in the public comment earlier that was unnamed, but I will make my comment now. My name is Adriana Chavez Lopez. I am a former student at Evergreen Valley High School. I was a student there when we did have resource officers. And from my own experience, when I was struggling in school, I was not referred to a mental health counselor. And I think that is what is concerning in schools, is that, like what people mentioned earlier, we have more SROs than we have mental health counselors in schools across America. And I think finally people are waking up and realizing that is not the solution. The solution is to provide more mental health supports. So when students are struggling, and that's exactly what I do now in my job, when students are struggling, they should be seen by a mental health counselor, a trauma-informed mental health counselor, and not a SRO. police should only be called to schools in case of an emergency, and that should be a last resort. There should be steps that we take, and I do this in my own school, where we take multiple steps before a police officer ever has to be called. So I think right now, I really appreciate what you guys did by saying we're going to invest in mental health and we are going to actually invest in the community. And that in the long term is going to do more good for us and good for our students, because I know I was a student there and I know what it's like when you are referred, not referred to a mental health counselor, and you are the only person that you can talk to is an SRO, because they are the counselors on campus. And I think that now from what I know and as an adult, you really do need the mental health support. And if there are issues, the last person that should be called should be a police officer. There should be many supports in place before we ever get to that point. Thank you.
The next speaker is Leticia Pamatz. Leticia, you have 2 minutes.
I don't know if she's muted.
Leticia, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Bueno,
Leticia,
sí, buenas tardes.
si tiene 2 minutos para hablar.
Buenas tardes. Yo solamente quiero opinar que no es importante tanto que estén los policías dentro de las escuelas, porque es retroactivo para ellos, porque no hay la suficiente confianza para cuando los niños tienen algún problema, les ayude. Es mejor que tengan ayuda psicológica, otros servicios que haya para que sirvan a la comunidad, a los padres y a los estudiantes. Es todo lo que puedo decir. Gracias.
Thank you. Leticia is recommending that we do not have police on campus. It's not an attractive option or resource for students, as there isn't the confidence and trust to speak to an officer. Would recommend more psychological supports in support of our students. That is the end of public comment.
Thank you, Superintendent Glenn Vanderzee. I do have Julio Pardo is the president of CRCA. You will have 5 minutes to have a public hearing today.
Julio Pardo, President, California School Employees, Chapter 187. First of all, I must commend you all, because usually I get here, you're not this far along, so I'm lucky I made it right now. But I'm here and listen to all these people. Basically, that's what I'm here for also. As you all know, we've had several incidents on several of our campuses. And I hear all these people talking about the things we should do. And one of the things, of course, is everyone always wants to add more social workers, more psychologists, et cetera, et cetera. The point is, though, that I've been around long enough in this district to remember when this happened, when I was a off-campus coach and a volunteer for the district back in the early 80s. We went through the same type of thing. The difference then, of course, was that we didn't have phones that kids could immediately send to their friends and everyone could see what's happening and everyone rushes over to see the incident, which makes things even worse. But the things were still bad. The one difference was that the teachers were starting to be trained in how to deal with these things and talking to the students. And right now, I think that's something you should really put your money into, is the training of teachers of how to deal with this. Yes, it's nice to have social workers. It's nice to have psychologists, but those aren't the people the kids are with all day long. They are with their teachers. And the teachers are the ones that really need to work with these kids. They need to be the ones to understand what's going on with the students, what's happening in their lives, to understand that some are coming from places that are not very good, because that's how some of our neighborhoods are. Let's be honest about it. They have rough lives. So we have to be understanding of that. And the first place you start is with the teacher. You get the students to feel trustworthy with the teacher. During the day, if they have to go somewhere to feel safe, They don't have room to go to a social worker's office. They don't have room to go talk to a psychologist who has an office that's probably 5 feet by 8 feet. It's much easier for them to go see a teacher who's in a classroom that's 40 feet by 40 feet to feel safe in there. So I think the district needs to look into how they can work to help get the teachers a little more educated as to how to deal with these students. One other thing we could use is more teachers. I mean, obviously, I know we have cutbacks. I know we have a problem with the budget, but the district has to look for ways of maybe finding money that's being used for other things that can be used to bring more teachers in. You have more teachers, you have more of an opportunity to have these students taken care of by people that will care for them. One other thing I talk about teachers is because the teachers are usually there for years. You get a lot of the social workers, you get a lot of these off-campus groups, and every couple of years they change. So a student that comes in a freshman may get attached to somebody, and 2 years later, that person's gone. But the teachers, the staff will always be there. You don't see the staff move too often. And so I'm hoping that this board will consider the fact that you have to look at your staff. I don't even want to talk about, well, I guess I have to talk about the police presence. Personally, the police did nothing while they were on our campuses. Half the time we were wondering where they were, and they were hiding in I shouldn't say they were hiding. They were in a back room in one of the buildings while things were going on. And we were always told, at least I was always told, while I was there trying to help settle a fight, that, well, we can't interfere. We're only here to, if someone has to be arrested. Well, what kind of logic is that for the students? It's like, wow, these guys are here just to arrest us. So that doesn't work very well. It doesn't make us feel good when they ask for a huge raise comparatively when everyone else is being cut from their jobs. So I'm really not too thrilled with having the police on campus. Yes, we need them when things do get out of hand and call them, but we really shouldn't be looking at having them come there because they're not going to provide security. In all my years with the police on campus, there was only one officer who really went out there and tried to relate with the kids. All the rest, I never saw them out there unless there was a really big problem. So again, put your money into working with your teachers, with your classified staff, refill some positions that are missing. So you have more adults on campus that will probably be there for a longer time of their careers, and the kids get to know them. And I really feel that we will get through this crisis because again, we've gone through it before and we'll go through it again in 30 or 40 years. I guarantee you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, President CSEA Julio Pardo. I want to thank you to all public comments, especially student voice for this item, all stakeholders as well as community members, grandparents and parents and teachers. I know this item was not agendized, so we probably will have to take a look. Maybe will be agendized, maybe next future board meeting, and we can discuss a little bit further. That's what we plan to do on the public comments. Am I correct?
We'll definitely take in the public comment, and we will continue to focus on school connectedness, wellness, and safety, and make sure that we take the public comment from all our meetings in mind as we make decisions as a district. Absolutely.
Thank you, Superintendent Glenn Van Der Zee. No other public comments, then I think we move to Student Governance Board Representative. We have a new Student Board Governance Representative. Will you please,
Madam President, may I introduce?
Yes, go ahead. Board Member
It is my honor as the board liaison to the Student Governing Board to introduce our newest Student Governing Board Chair, who also serves as the student representative on our board. So please help me in welcoming Paula Escobar. So Paula is a senior at Evergreen, and you've been on the board now for, this is your third year, right? And she was the board secretary last year, so she comes with lots of experience. And now I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, and this is your time to say whatever you want to say.
Can you guys hear me good? Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all. And I want to just give myself a quick introduction. So yeah, hi again. My name is Paula Escobar. I'm currently a senior at Evergreen Valley High School, and I'm really happy to be representing all the students here at Eastside. As a first generation student, I really want to make sure that all students here at Eastside feel welcomed in their school environments and feel empowered to learn. And with that, I really want to shout out to all the people who came today and expressed their opinions for public comment. We at Eastside here, we want to protect our students and put their care and safety above all else. Because of that, I want to dedicate my time here on Eastside Union Student Governing Board by committing to a year that focuses on diversifying our student governing board, honing in on restorative justice, and making sure that we put student needs at the forefront, and also putting a focus on socio-emotional needs by having more mental health resources on campus. In addition to this, I really want to make sure that students have space and have time to really get engaged with an improved sex education curriculum within our district. With this, I really hope we can all move forward as a community and we could really elevate student voices across all stakeholder groups in our district. I'm so excited for all the things I'll be able to do and everything that the Student Governing Board will bring to the table, because I know that student voice, we have been working so hard these past years, and I know that this is just the beginning of all the things that we can accomplish together. Student voice is so important because every single policy discussed here at the board directly impacts us. Yet for so long, we have been silenced and we don't have the same representation that we deserve. Therefore, the Student Governing Board, you'll definitely hear more from us in this coming year, and I'm super excited to see what everyone has to bring to the table, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Awesome.
So my colleagues, put on your seatbelts because our newest member is really going to put us to work.
Thank you, Paula Escobar. Welcome to our board meeting, and looking forward to working with you. And I know any board member has any comments?
Super brief, just bienvenida, Paula. So excited to have your leadership at this level. I know it was a little while coming, seeing you in so many leadership positions. I just kept looking at the time. When is it going to happen? And it finally happened today. So we're just so excited to welcome you and to work very closely with you. Bienvenida.
Absolutely. All right. No other board comment? Okay. Board member. Okay. All right. If we don't have any other comments, so we should move into 11.01, presentation and information discussion and action regarding update on novel coronavirus COVID-19. Mr. Superintendent, please take it over.
Thank you. This is a standing item now in our new world of COVID, and we'll be taking a look at, again, the data around reopening in terms of vaccinations and current case levels. We'll also take a look at our verifying of vaccination that Human Resources established, and take a look at our current levels that we're shooting for 100% by October 1st. And then I'd like to present to you all tonight, as well as to the public, some changes in the rules regarding board meetings and public participation during the pandemic and other potentially at other times as well. There's no action to be taken tonight. This is purely informational. So the first thing we're going to look at is just the number of cases on the seven-day rolling average, and as a county, we are down. Last time we met, we were in the high 200s. We're now at 223. So our numbers are dropping as we continue to vaccinate and mask and take appropriate actions. Our vaccination levels are up. Last time we were at about 82%. We're currently at, as a county, 83.5%. And we're just continuing to encourage everyone to get that vaccination for their safety and for those around them. The latest, this is today, last time we presented our COVID dashboard, and that for us, it's a 10-day. We look at the numbers on a 10-day equal to the quarantine period. And so we have currently, in terms of staff, in the last 10 days, we've had 3 positive cases. And as far as students, 18 positive cases, and that is the same percentage with student numbers that we had last month. So the student numbers there, I think that there's a slight uptick in our staff numbers, but still far below 1% in terms of positive cases within the district. So again, thanks to everybody, whether it's facilities and keeping those HVAC units going and filtering our air continuously, whether it's our staff and students that continue to wear those masks and do the distancing necessary when outside or eating. And then also thanks to all of those that are been vaccinated for their safety and those around them. We talked last time, there was a public health order requiring us to verify, not just an attestation, but verification of vaccinated status. And if a staff member is not vaccinated, then to take part in regularly weekly testing. So as we've got our system in place through the VAX Verify. As of today, 70% of staff has verified their vaccination status. And we'd just like to ask all others that if you haven't done that yet, first, if you have that vaccination card, it is literally about a minute-long process or less to upload that, and then that is you are good to go. For those that still need to seek out that vaccination, there's supports on there's locations on our website with the county. Please seek that out once again for your safety and that of others. But I really like to speak to tonight informationally so that the public is aware, that all our staff as a district employees are aware, and also as a board, some changes just in terms of board meetings. So in this current when COVID hit, there was an order given, and it allowed board meetings to take place virtually, where even board members did not have to be in the same room. And they were authorized to hold those meetings. And there were still rules for public input and public comment and responding and posting, and required the public to be able to observe and address electronically. That order that was given months ago, seems like years, but really months, will expire on September 30th. And so in its expiration, there are new rules regarding board meetings and options. And so one simple option is simply to just meet completely in person. There are other options, however, that is open now through this new legislation that allows us to still meet through it in a virtual format, or to hold our meetings via Zoom. What the requirements are for this is that, one, we would be able to do that if ever there was a state of emergency declared, right? So right now the onus is back in person unless, one, there's a state emergency. And as you know, we've experienced different forms of emergency in this state over the last couple of years, whether that's the pandemic, whether it's fires, whether it's air quality, different issues that might make it behoove us to meet virtually as opposed to in person. So that's one way for us to continue to meet virtually. The other is that the board has the option to affirm its need to continue to meet virtually, but that needs to be done every 30 days. So we know that we have been meeting together. We know that in this space, it's limited in terms of space in here. And so that we've been meeting in person as a board, but continuing to meet virtually and making the board meeting essentially available for those that wish to come in, but also those to participate virtually as we experienced this evening. So that is one of the modifications in 361, that we were to continue to want to meet in that format, that we would have to take action on that every 30 days. There are still posting requirements, that there always is. We have to make sure that the public is aware of the agenda beforehand, the means of the public making requirements. It's got to be in real time, and that allows for public comment in a way that voice can be heard, both student and community voice that we're emphasizing. And then also just this notion that if our Wi-Fi was to go down, if the Zoom was to freeze, if there's a technical issue, we'd have to suspend the meeting until we've addressed it, so that there's not a lack of participation because of the technical issue. This last page that I'm showing you here is not changed by 361. This is just kind of standard rules again regarding public comment, and just making sure that an agenda is provided, that it's open to them, and that we would still continue to abide by the existing rules regarding public comment. So I wanted to make you aware of those changes because at our next board meeting on October 7th, we'll be sending a resolution forward to the board with a recommendation that we continue with everyone here to meet in person, but to continue the virtual experience and the forms of virtual participation for the public, and bringing that resolution to you because of still the Delta variant and other concerns, and the way that for many public participation during this time of pandemic in our community is much easier and more comfortable for the community through a virtual format than in person. And so we'll be bringing that recommendation towards you for you at the October 7th for you to take action, and then subsequently every 30 days after in order to comply with this new legislation. So I just wanted you to be aware of it. The public's aware of it, the community aware of it, that's why what's coming forward. It is not really to change anything that we have been doing, but to let everybody know that we're obligated to reaffirm that every 30 days and still maintain our posting and public input obligations. So with that said, we'll continue to monitor our data and continue to respond appropriately. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be getting those vaccination numbers that are verified and then start asking those who've not been vaccinated to begin the testing. We'll continue to monitor our HVAC system and our filters and all those things that we're doing, and work towards the health and safety of our staff and students. The other thing that we'll do is be bringing you that resolution for action on Assembly Bill 361 on our next board meeting. Thank you very much.
Right, that's 11.01, so we finish it. Now we 11.02. Discussion and action regarding CSBA call for nomination for directors at large, African American and American Indian. Mr. Superintendent.
This is your opportunity to make nominations for the CSBA at large. They're taking at large nominations from districts for African American and American Indian nominations. And so this is your opportunity as a board if you wish to nominate someone to do so.
I think it's usually we do have a list of some other candidate that would like to apply for the African American representative director of large. So I'm encourage any one of us if you like to interest and apply. And I think it's the deadline is October 15, right?
Yes, the deadline for submission is Friday, October 1st.
So on October 7, we can approve and nominate any other.
If we have it here on the wall, the deadline for nomination is October 1st. So you would have to take action this evening.
No other board
Oh,
meeting
no
before.
other board, yeah, no of the board member would like interested, then we would not have anyone
So
interested.
the two are which ones can?
It's the director at large, African American and American Indian.
Okay.
So that is two. I know you are also delegate, right?
Yeah, but that's separate.
Oh,
This
separate.
is the directors at large.
Yeah, you have to apply with the nomination.
I think, sorry, go ahead, Pat. Go ahead, buddy.
I did reach out to someone today to ask if they were interested and I didn't hear back. So it seems a little awkward to nominate someone if I'm not even sure they want to do it.
Well, they'll say they're not if they're not, right?
What's that?
They'll say they're not if they're not, right?
All right,
So-
I'll nominate Karina Herrera.
I have to excuse myself. No.
I could nominate any board member. Would you be interested?
No, I want to nominate somebody else.
Oh, you nominate.
I
oh,
don't,
okay.
those are not my background, so I don't share
Okay.
that. Yeah.
All
I'd be
right.
for the Hispanic, the Latino one.
All right.
For the African American, I'd like to nominate Chris Norwood from Milpitas.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's I think.
that's good too.
And
I don't know
then-
if he knows, but he'll know. once-
Right.
Is this two at-large positions or one at-large position?
But they have only one director at large. They have to be nominated, and also they have to file the
Well,
vote,
One of them is for African American.
and one of them
The
is
other is American
Indian.
Indian.
Okay, so
American
we
Indian.
can, we can nominate them both.
Yes.
All right.
And
I have Chris
is
Norwood
Chris
and
Norwood, that's
Karina?
from
Is she American? I don't know that she's American Indian.
She is.
Okay.
She absolutely is.
All right,
Okay.
but those two candidates still have to file
Accept, yeah.
paperwork, right?
Right.
All right.
so if you'd like to move and take action on.
So I'll move, well, you got to do them separately, right? So I'll move
Yes.
for nominating Karina.
Second.
All right, all in favors, please say aye.
Aye.
That is for the candidate for African Americans. Now we move to American Indian candidate.
that
right?
was-
No,
that
that
was
was
for
Karina
American
was
Indian.
the,
Oh, Karina
the
also.
American Indian.
All
yeah.
right, so we already vote for both.
No, now we need to do Chris
Now we'll
Norwood.
vote for if someone would like to propose a motion
Oh,
for
somebody have to have a
So-
motion.
nomination of Chris
I'd
Norwood.
like to move to nominate Chris Norwood.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 No abstention. The item 11.02 passed unanimously for nominate Chris Norwood and Karina Murat for the second American Indian candidate. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. We move to item 12.01, presentation and discussion regarding magnet program and career technical education CTA pathway. Mr. Tim Nguyen, Director of Career Services, and Teresa Marcus, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. Please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'd like to invite Mr. Tim Nguyen to the podium, who will present to you an update and highlight our magnet and career technical pathways. Mr. Nguyen.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. So the teleprompter is broken tonight. So instead of giving you the spiel that I normally give you every year, I am going to give you the pitch that I normally give to our community or parents or industry partner or potential industry partner. So please go to the next slide. So in 2016, I don't know, for some of you, you will remember that we made this promise to the East Side community. And in that promise, we said that all of our graduates will graduate with these 5 C's and empowered with a plan. Right? And we did that with well-intentioned, and we know that our community deserves this, and that our students are very diverse, comes from many backgrounds, has a lot of skills, a lot of different interests. But at the same time that we made this promise, we knew that it was hard to prove that our student indeed graduate with these skill sets. It's very hard to measure.
Tim, I don't believe you need your mask at the stand.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes some words get swallowed in a mask.
Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. So that is why, as a school district, we came up with, next slide, please, sir. The notion that all adults in this building and all of our buildings look at our student as a diverse group, understand their challenges, understand their strength, and then come up with a way to support them. You know, and so we have done that. I know that over the years we've done a lot of training, we've done a lot of programs that we implemented, and one of the programs that one of the many programs actually that we implemented is the Career Technical Education Program, and it really is something that speaks to the interests of all of our students, or many of our students. So next slide, please. So this is an elective program in our system. We have many elective courses, as you well know, but CTE is very important. And it's very different than the rest of the elective courses in our schools. Because CTE addresses the career technical education piece, the curriculum, but there is a strong component of industry experience that is embedded in this program. And so, students in the program are exposed to career panels, industry visits. We call this work-based learning. And at the highest level, we provide internship for our students. Right? So these are the 4 pillars of our career technical education program. Rigorous academic, we provide this across our district through our A through G coursework, right? All of the students in our district are scheduled into A through G courses, and if they do well and see a better, they qualify to go to any of our public schools. Career-based learning is our career technical education courses that we offer. So in these courses, as I mentioned earlier, the student dive deeper into a particular career. The activities or the work that's done, for example, engineering, the student would learn how engineers work, learn some of the skills that are required or not required, but are good for them. The third one is work-based learning. I mentioned that briefly earlier. Work-based learning is where we bring the industry experience into the classroom, right? And provide students with real life exposure to a particular career. And then personalized support. So this is something that I know you heard a lot of speaker earlier tonight talking about the social emotional piece, the counseling piece. And this district and this board approved our LCAP that was presented by Associate Superintendent Chavez, Marquez earlier, and in the summer. And so the LCAP addresses a lot of these support services for our student. The LCAP hired counselors to support our students in placing them in and guiding them into college and career pathways. So that is the 4 pillar in our program. Now, if everything that I just mentioned sounds familiar to you, it does, right? Right? The coursework is actually, if you went to college, you know that that's your general education courses that you have to take. And if you look at the career-based learning, the CTE courses, that is actually the courses that you need to take in your major to graduate. You have to declare a major. And so, of course, the work-based learning, when you're a junior in college or senior, you are looking for internship, right? Everybody is searching and applying and so forth. Well, at Eastside, we are doing that for our students in career technical education already. And that is what we plan to do and grow in our program. So next slide, please. So through growth, you can see that we have a total of 22 pathways and in 8 sectors. And you can see them here. From advanced manufacturing all the way down to, we have child development, which is like a K6, and then teaching, which is, high school level. So we have both. Next slide, please. And here are the numbers of students currently enrolled in these pathways combined, right? We have a total of 3,000 plus students. That's about 15% of our total enrollment that we're serving at Eastside.
Board Member Doe, could you use your microphone so we can capture your comments?
I've noticed the teachings under the enrollment by pathway for teaching is the lowest on that.
Yeah, so the number changes from year to year. COVID did not help. When we have, normally we do our recruitment right out of the 8th grade year, but we lost that opportunity during COVID. And students, we're going to do our best to try to raise that level. I know our teachers are doing the same, and the school side are doing the same. But I know that over the years, that number is always low, always low. Okay.
Seem to see the high ones, multimedia, what is it?
Engineering.
Engineering and business finance.
Right.
It's a nice cluster.
Yes. Next.
Actually, just if I could comment on the teaching one, given the dire need for teaching, I'd love to see if there's more we can do to bolster that program.
Absolutely. And I can probably tell you that we have, and Teresa and Tom might be able to confirm, we have many teachers in our system right now who are former students of that academy. Yeah, so there's quite a few.
What we're saying is if there's a way that we can be helpful, let us know.
Right. I spoke earlier about the work-based learning program. So we actually serve a couple of thousand students in the work-based learning program. So by that, I mean, we take students to manufacturing week. So there's about 600 students that participate, different career panels. We have mentors, we've got all, but really our, something that I really hang my hat on, if you will, I don't wear a hat, but is our internship program, because it is by far one of the, I think probably the best in Northern California for sure. Student gets paid. This program, the internship program, they are, so we partner with the City of San Jose and the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce help us recruit industry partners. The City of San Jose pays through their youth and summer employment program. And then, of course, our we provide them with the interns, right? So that's the partnership. And so even during COVID, I think I presented last year through Zoom, we had a virtual internship. So this past summer, we had 57 more students go through the internship. And on top of that, our student earned work experience credit for to graduate from high school. So that is a layer upon layer upon layer of opportunities for our students. So that is something that really I implore you, when you go speak to your constituents, talk to the kids who might go to KIPP or I don't know all the names of the charter school, just saying. This is where we're set apart, right? Because they might be able to say we graduate students and send them to college. We do too, but we have this. They don't. Anyway, next slide, please. And this is another thing that we have that they don't, is many of our career technical education courses are dual enrollment courses. So by this, you can see here that, and this list is growing. We currently are working on some more courses to provide for our students. So that this means that the student will earn college credit while taking the same course at the high school. So let's say, for example, if the student is taking Introduction to Business, and that course is aligned with the Business 51 over at Mission, and when the teacher connects with Mission College and the student sign on, if the student earns a B or better, the student earns 3 credit of Business 51 at Mission College. I would say that this is slightly better than AP. I love AP, right? But it's slightly better because AP students still have to pay, they still have to take the test, they have to score well, and they may get their course waived by the college. So that's another thing we can hang our hat on. Anyway, next slide, please. So how do we pay for all of this? There is a partnership, if you will. All of our CT teacher, for the most part, is paid by general fund. So they are just like a math teacher, or art teacher, or science teacher, right? The other funding comes from grants. So the administration of this program, all of the partnership that we create, the cost of some of the equipment that we buy, the field trips, all of these supplementary piece is paid for by grant money. So I know that some of you have had a chance to go visit some of our labs. I know President Lay will go tomorrow, but I invite you to go. I know Member Doe has gone. It is truly world-class in terms of, everybody. It's in East Side is actually envy of a lot of high school around here. So with that, I end my pitch, and I'm open to any questions.
Yes, go ahead, Board Member Herrera.
So I appreciate this presentation. Just a minute, please. I think it's an appropriate time to make a contextual observation, especially because newer members have joined the board at a time when something fairly significant occurred. And before I describe it, I want to really give kudos to you and our administration for the development of these programs, because they're extraordinary. I toured a couple of them, I forget, 3 years or 2 years ago or what have you. And I want only that we strengthen our programs and continue to be of great benefit to our students. But I think it's worth the board knowing that when Jerry Brown was governor, he drove a restructuring of the state finance system into the local control, funding formula and the local control, the LCAP. The consequence of that is that prior to that change, funding for career technical education came to Metro Ed and through Metro Ed to districts, because Metro Ed was recognized as the preeminent provider of career technical education programs. It's a coalition of 6 districts. It has, stellar, programs which have eroded over time when the LCAP switched the funding to go to the districts now, not to Metro Ed, to the districts, and from districts to Metro Ed. And Metro Ed was supplemented by the CTIG funds that you pointed out as one of the sources, what have you. When you listed those as the funding and said the rest was general fund, that kind of really doesn't convey what happened, because those general fund monies are not just considered local control funding formula funds, in which we're supposed to target, various demographics and groups and so on. And we're supposed to make our own decisions as to how to deploy career technical education funds. So it's my belief that when our prior superintendent was here, that I do not recall the board being brought into a policy discussion about, now that the funds are going from the district to Metro Ed, and Metro Ed is our preeminent provider, how are we going to manage that? I don't recall that conversation being brought forward to the board. We were only informed that these were programs that were being funded now, and really that came even a year or two after, when it was actually spotlighted to the board. But by that time, the horse was out of the barn, and the net result of it is that we have built up these incredible programs, and it has come at the expense of 2 years ago, Metro Ed was looking at potentially going out of business, because Its reserves were declining. Its funding had dramatically declined. Its real supplemental source was through the CTIG funds, and those were fluctuating. We started to cut staff. I say we because I'm the Metro Ed rep over there. We started to cut staff, roll back programs that had been very popular. If you look at the range of programs at Metro Ed and the connections with industry, long standing, decades, we really just had to contract the organization. Then we started losing staff because for, I would say 8 years or more, probably, yeah, more than that, we weren't able to give any raises. We were losing staff. We couldn't give raises. We weren't competitive in the marketplace. Some of our capital needs at Metro Ed, we couldn't meet. And really, we started to look at the possibility that Metro Ed just might have to shut its doors because of this huge change that occurred in how the funds flowed. Now, Metro Ed is one of they're referred to generically as regional occupational programs, ROPs, and Metro Ed is one of the largest ROPs in the state of California. Luckily, Assemblymember Alex Lee paid more attention in the past year and a half to the plight of Metro Ed than other officials have. And he managed to fight for some funding that has stabilized us and is going to continue to fight for some funding. But, and I tell people at Metro Ed, I said, listen, the horse is out of the barn. I'm not going to advocate that we scale back our programs or defund our programs. We should have had this conversation, very dramatically when this shifted, kind of a thing. And the superintendent of Metro says, well, we did have that conversation, but she had it with the superintendents. And the superintendents were very biased in favor of their districts, and Metro Ed lost big time. So right now we're stabilized because of some work that was done at the state level, especially with Alex Lee's support. It looks like we'll be able to keep holding steady, but at this kind of downsized level and still unable to compete with salaries and still unable to bring back programs that used to thrive, and so I'm just mentioning all of that so that we all understand as a board that there's an issue that's hanging out there. And I think we're going to be hearing a presentation from the superintendent at Metro Ed.
Yeah, I'll be meeting with the superintendent of Metro Ed and then scheduling with the board president when they'll come.
Yeah, and it pains me because I have this program. If you've never toured Metro Ed, you really should. Just go see with your own eyes the programs there, the linkages to industry, the longstanding relationships, the equipment that they have that industry provides. It's really a crown jewel in the region. And I just want us to keep caring about that and find some way to take care of both our programs and the one that we've always, supported well. So that's my comment.
Any other comments? Yeah, Pardo.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate the time and I appreciate, in fact, I want to say I'm very impressed with what the program has been doing, especially during this pandemic where you have, if I remember correctly, over 150 students who passed the Stanford certification for engineering program. And that's impressive because you have high school kids that essentially have a certifications when they walk out of high school that many university students would love to have, which is certification in the engineering at Stanford University. So thank you for that.
Thank you for all of the work that you do in our CTE programs. I have a few questions. How do students become aware of the offerings just at a high level? I know that certain schools have focuses, right? Like the business, the engineering, the teaching is at Independence, for example, so on and so forth. But do we have some marketing for the kids or specific outreach, especially to our feeder school districts?
So normally, and even during COVID, we did this. So we get a list of all our incoming freshmen, and we do a mailer.
Oh, nice.
And we invite the students to come to our magnet night. But it's not just magnet, it's all of our CTE program. Teacher bring out booths, they bring student along, kind of a show and tell. Students or parents of incoming freshmen are invited and they get to see what's all that's available. Then they apply for the magnet. So student can choose to go from Evergreen Valley High School, and they say, I love to be in the teaching academy at Independence High School, and they can apply. And of course, some of our program is impacted, so there's a lottery process, but that's also a public event where we sort out all the candidates, and then we do the lottery here in the district office. So there is quite a few ways that we're reaching out. I know that our schools, individual schools, the administrator, the PD, and the counselor goes to the feeder school and talk about the program, and and sometimes our CTE teachers are invited to talk about the program.
Okay.
And I myself, I go to the parent groups and whatnot, and kind of do that.
Got it. Are we at capacity with this, with our CTE pathways? Or is there, because we said 15% of our district, 3,000 students can benefit, are currently benefiting from this program. I'm just curious, like, what is our capacity?
Our capacity is dictated by class limit, right, Mr. Nguyen? So the CTE teachers are specialized. They get their credential, and it calls for industry experience.
Yeah.
So not everybody. So we have computer science CTE pathways you see here, but those two teachers have CTE credentials. They teach computer science, but they formerly were working out in industry, and so therefore they qualify to be credentialed as CTE teachers. So it's also, that's limitation.
So if we wanted to increase that number, we just hire more teachers that have that specific credential?
Yes, and it's very difficult because somebody who is currently working at Yahoo or Google as an engineer, they look at our salary schedule and they said, let me cash in my stock and then I'll come work for you.
Hey, but who would want to work for Eastside, right?
It's very difficult because it's hard to recruit industry people.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And one last question, what are the demographics of the students in the programs?
So we take in all the students and we recruit equally. So I think we have a pretty good balance. Now, I will say that in certain program, like say engineering or construction, the gender, mostly male in those programs, but you'll see that there are a lot of female engineers over there, and partly it's because we have a female engineer group that the chamber have helped us put together. So they create a panel, and then we invite all students to come and hear them talk. Same thing with Latine.
Latinx, yep.
I believe it's Latine. Is that right? Right. Yes. With the E at the end. So we have a couple panels coming up, in fact. The tech leaders. And so we're working with South City College, and they brought in a group of Latinx leaders, and it's going to be through Zoom. So all of our students are invited to, again, it's just a way of recruiting and getting kids to see familiar faces. So that's what we try to do as part of our recruitment effort.
Is there a way that I can easily get access to the demographics of the students in each of the programs?
Yes, so I can get that data.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Board Member Patty Cotisi.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Mr. Nguyen. I love our CTE programs. Can you go back to the slide with what programs are at what schools? So I am wondering if there is a way to use our CTE programs to support our enrollment at some of our schools that are, you know, considerably below capacity. So for example, James Lick, I don't even see one on James Lick. I know they used to have a fire science program, and I think that went away shortly before the pandemic. But, you know, I mean, having, you know, some of these popular ones like multimedia or engineering, I mean, could we put one of those like at Mount Pleasant or James Lick or some of those schools where we have tremendous capacity?
So again, it depends on
Space?
whether or not we can recruit and hire a CTE teacher. But to your point, you mentioned Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant has really, I believe, a premier animation program and multimedia program. You saw some of the work that the student from Mount Pleasant did and won some awards, and the families are flying to New York to participate. So
they're just not listed here then, is that
Oh.
right? I see animation, but under multimedia arts.
they're
I
part of
don't see-
multimedia. I'm sorry, it's in there. It's a
Well, Mount
typo.
Pleasant is included in that one as well, multimedia. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Good to know.
But they are. So they have two. So we are working with our marketing. We have a marketing company that we work with. And so we're working with them to work with Mr. William Cavada, who is the video and multimedia teacher over at Mount Pleasant, to create videos, clips that are like TikTok-like, so it's 1 minute or less, and to kind of highlight all of our CTE pathways. And it's kind of like a competition. So there's going to be student created, but industry people are helping. So it's like work-based learning. And then you'll see more and you'll be invited because it's going to be a big thing. We'll push it out to recruit, and there's a competition amongst the students to see who has the most likes, who has the most, you know, so that's—
Wait a minute, that sounds real familiar.
It's going to be exciting, and it's very, it's a walled garden, so don't worry about all that, the other stuff. Yeah. So we're doing that, and I think that to get just excitement around the program, like I said, before COVID, we were working with Alum Rock School District. I believe they have a middle school that is also multimedia, and the two principal was connected, and the two teachers were going to connect so that they're going to bring in the middle school students to be working with the high school student, but then COVID hit. So we're going to reconnect.
Well, to me is this item, this is one that I request. Thank you, Director Tim Nguyen and Teresa Marcus. You know, bring it back today for the presentation. I'm really impressed for this program. When I first got elected, and I went a visit to one of those classroom and school, and I really fell in love to one of this career pathway. My question is during the pandemic, students gonna have a lot of challenge to be hands-on experience. You know, talk about construction and any other career pathway. How do we handle? How do we support them? And I was wondering that the student that you have right now, compare with 5 years ago, do we have increased student or we have a decreased student, and which category? I'm just kind of wondering, curious.
So when I took over the position, I believe we have 12 pathways. So now we have 22, and it fluctuates because some of our teachers, we lose some of our teachers from year to year. For example, last year, as you recall, we lost one of our engineering teacher to administration, got a promotion, and then we replaced that teacher this year with an engineering teacher. So now we gain that pathway back. So it fluctuates from year to year. But so I think that that's always going to be a challenge because of attrition, of retirement, of one of our teacher decided to move closer to home. So she left and is now in Danville or Walnut Creek, closer to home. So that pathway, luckily, we had another teacher that has also a CTE credential, so we can continue, but it's yeah.
So I really like to see some of the project that the student that have, been working so hard. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna plan to visit Independence High School. And I know that I got an invitation from teacher Jack Aiello from a STEM Academy intro design class. The student that involved in this Moon Festival making lantern is very amazing. I mean, I'm very impressed, the talent of our student, especially, lead to, our teachers. And I really say that that's amazing. I want the community to see we have that many programs that support, our student, and and also the feeder district probably going to have to look up and say, wow, do we have one of the CTE career? So maybe in the future, could we showcase some of our student project?
So if we were given a bit of head start, then I will make sure that we will do that. I think that listening to me talk and talking about numbers I know it's boring. I could give you this in a report, but I agree that when you see the students present and talk about, you'll see their passion and you'll see, some of their great work. So I definitely agree that we should have showcase some of the CTE students or teachers instead of suit and tie.
You're not boring, Tim. You're not boring. Appreciate the dialogue. Don't undersell yourself. We love students. We love students. There's no
but I
question
know
about
that
that.
I did not answer one of your questions. Is during the pandemic, it's definitely hard for our teachers and students because it's all about hands-on. But luckily, some of our teachers were able to pivot and did a lot of work. Like for example, transportation. We have connection with Ford and Honda. So the student was doing Honda and Ford certification online, which is, and in construction, they did OSHA training,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
absolutely. And I know that animation and multimedia are very wonderful. I visit Mount Pleasant and I saw how much students have been involved with. And then I want to really see that project, really, because when they learn it in the school and they really finish the project, they're very proud. I really like to see those, project maybe in the future that we can showcase, to, our board.
So we will have just, I think the plan is we're going to have like an Oscar or Emmy night over at Mount Pleasant High School. No, seriously. And so we're going to showcase, yes. So there should be about 20 plus or 24 student clips.
Wow.
And we're going to invite industry partner to rate. And then some of the students across the district will get to rate. And so we'll have prizes, so
Exactly.
it's like great director, right? So please look for that. It's a good, it's a good way. And then we'll have, you get to doll up and everything.
Sure. Very excited. Yes, go ahead, Board Member Herrera.
So I want to close again by admiring the work that you and others have done for our programs. I'm really proud of the programs. And I want to close again by saying that the biggest factor right now for Metro Ed is that there not be declining enrollment, that we hold a threshold, because that's a primary leverage for funding is the level of enrollment. So we can be stewards of our programs in the district, and we can be stewards, as we've always been, of the regional program, Metro Ed, and that requires some cooperation and not just ignoring that Metro Ed exists, some cooperation to allow them to, in the past, there used to be counselors on site who would make available presentations and encouragement, and our students will win whether they're in our programs or in MetroEd's program.
Absolutely, and I believe the number is very close to 600. 600 of our students are currently over at Metro Ed.
And the next closest is San Jose Unified, and I think they only have 200 and some, almost 300.
Right, so.
But we're the ones that are really
Oh,
anchoring
so
the
definitely,
regional effort.
definitely, and so.
So as a board and as administration, we got to keep our eye on the enrollment issue.
Absolutely,
make sure
absolutely.
that
And
we're.
We have a counselor, one of our counselor there,
Right there, right.
Ms. Hope Brashear,
Exactly.
just to do that.
Well, yeah, thank you, Director Tim Nguyen, and probably also will invite you to the radio station probably in next couple of weeks to talk
Absolutely.
about this program to the Vietnamese community because you can speak
Absolutely.
Vietnamese well.
Absolutely, I will do that, and I may see you tomorrow at Independence.
But I meet you tomorrow. All right, thank you. Okay, right. Now we move on to 13.01, presentation and discussion regarding Child Nutrition Services Program. Chris Yu, Associate Superintendent of Business Services, and Julie Kasberger, Director of General Services. Please take it away.
I welcome Julie Kasberger, Director of Child Nutrition Services.
Mike.
There, I'm green now. Okay. Good evening, Julie Kasberger, Director of General Services. And I didn't know I had to take my mask off, so I have no lipstick on. Sorry. Anyway, what I'm going to be presenting on tonight is the Child Nutrition Program and what the 2021-22 school year looks like, because it is definitely a little different than what we've done in the past. Go ahead and go one more, Glenn. Isn't that the neatest photo? That was a great night. Thank you, everybody, for recognizing us. That was awesome. Yeah. The staff really did appreciate the fact that they were recognized. And so thank you. Anyway, so the programs that we're offering this year are breakfast, lunch, and supper. And so the breakfast and lunch program are through the Summer Seamless, which means it's all free to anyone who's 18 and younger. The supper program is the same supper program that we've offered through the Child and Adult Care Feeding Program, and it is also free to anybody who's on campus after the school day ends. And so bottom line is all meals on campus, the complete meals are for free. On hold right now are the a la carte catering and vending programs. And the main reason for that is because of our capacity. Coming from being in COVID for the period of time that we were, and all free meals, which means any kid, any campus, anywhere can grab a breakfast, lunch, and supper. We weren't sure what participation was going to do. And so in order to cover all of our required programs, we put these 3 programs on hold. Okay, so the beginning of any school year, one of our big focuses is the application process. And so normally it's a huge deal for us because all of our incoming 9th graders, they're coming into our district. And so we need to get them on the program so that there's no disruption in service after that 30 days in school. And so it's a huge deal to us. This year, though, because we're under the all free, no application necessary, then the application program hasn't been important to us, but don't get me wrong, it has been very critical for the school district for LCFF funding. So it's the local control funding formula. And so our free and reduced applications are a huge piece of that unduplicated count. And so it's something that we're having to really pay attention to and make sure that we're collecting those applications. There's not a huge incentive for the families to do it. They're getting their free meal. What we're finding right now is we're getting requests now because we've got AP testing. And so that information is coming in, and there's certain timelines, and there are fee reductions. And so they go from a $87 test down to a $12 test if you qualify for the lunch program. So we're seeing an influx in applications for that. And so what we're doing as of today, as a matter of fact, we have gotten the parent community involvement specialists involved, where they are now going to be assisting us with collecting the meal applications. Applications were sent out to all of the households before school started. We also have them available to downloadable on the website, as well as they can fill the application out online. And if anybody asks, fill it out online. It's the fastest, easiest way for us to get the student processed. There's no physical contact that we have to have. And so filling it out online is awesome.
Do we need to like raffle off a large screen TV or something?
I would love to do that.
Like, what can we do to give people an incentive to
just to
Good to
fill out
know.
an application. Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, I think one of the struggles this year is the fact that there's no direct, oh, it gives me this right now. Again, there are other reasons, as we go through the school year for SAT, PSAT, internet connectivity, that this application helps with. But kind of rolling into what you're talking about, we also, this year, because of all the waivers that we have, we're being given an opportunity through the waiver programs to do an alternate income application, which is giving us the flexibility where we don't have to have a parent signature. So it means I can call the family up and I can say, hi, my name is Julie and I'm calling from Eastside Union High School District, and we're trying to collect information for funding purposes and just wanted to know if you would be willing to share your household, your income, your students, and we can qualify them. I sign the application and it's called an alternate income application. And what that does is it provides the LCFF unduplicated count for us. It doesn't give, and it gives them a letter for their AP waiver and all the waivers and fee reductions and such. It gives them all of that. The only thing it doesn't give them is if and when we go back to the National School Lunch Program, which it looks like in the fall, we're going to have to know who's free, reduced, and paid. It does not qualify them for that piece. And so next year, anybody who did an alternate income form will have to actually get an application for them. But anyway, so that is an opportunity for us this year. Just from an informational standpoint, direct certification means students qualify via social services, whether it's CalWork or CalFresh, and those kiddos automatically qualify. And so we get a list, it's downloaded into CalPads, it comes into us, and we can they're automatically qualified, and they qualify for all of the resources available through the lunch program and everything else. That number has significantly increased since the pandemic. And so pre-pandemic, our first poll for the direct certification was around 4,000 kiddos. Now, after the pandemic, this year and last year and this year, our first polls have been almost 6,000 kids. And so those are applications we don't ever have to touch. They just come into us and we take care of them. And so just an FYI, a great number to know for me. And then as far as the LCFF funding date cutoff, just another FYI, it's typically the 31st of October. This year, that's a Sunday. And so we're asking to get all of the information in by October 29th. And so that's the big date that we're really pushing for right now. So going from applications, now I want to talk about participation. Participation is one of those things where, from my world, I've been in this business for 40 years now, and participation is what drives the program. If your participation is going up, it generally means your income's going up, which generally means you're going to have a program that's going to be more healthy than if it's going in the other direction. So this year, this is giving you a 5-year look at what the participation is. And the 17, 18, and 19, and 19 is kind of quirky because it's only half year. It also includes our a la carte, and we do an equivalent meal equivalent with the a la carte sales to equate it to a meal. And so as you can see, we're doing really well this year with 11,370 meals per day for the month of August. That's average for the month of August. Yesterday, we did 13,400, and we're continuing to increase. And so we're really excited about what the participation is doing right now. And as we add our student cashiers on, and I'm going to talk about it in a few slides, but just as we add our cashiers on, every single point of service just means that many more kids that we're serving. And so these numbers could get crackers. And which is going to answer some questions I think you all have, as well as some of our challenges that we need to be very sensitive to. And so participation is up. Julie's really happy. So along with participation being up, we are looking at reimbursements. And so Member Doe requested this information a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, this is actually pretty good information. And so I thought I'll just throw the whole slide in, because it kind of shows the total picture over the past 4 or 5 years. But the bottom line, what I want you to all see out of this is when you look at a typical year pre-COVID, our increase in federal reimbursements is typically between 2% and 3% a year. And so, okay, that's great. But when you look at our reimbursement increases this year for breakfast, it's a 16% over prior year, and lunch is an 18% over prior year. So what does that mean? Participation is up, our per meal reimbursement is up, which brings us to the next slide, which shows our reimbursements, which is our income, at almost double what we've ever done before. And so I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic here. but I have goosebumps because this is something in this district I'm excited to be able to report that, to have $714,000 for 1 month reimbursement, which a typical reimbursement is about $400,000. Right now, I watch this on a daily basis. And so as of today, we're going to do over $800,000 in reimbursements for the month of September. And so it just is, it's a very good sign. And it's something that I love standing up here and talking about because there's sometimes I want to hide behind the podium where you can't see me, where today it's like, this is really exciting. And so
is this trend likely to continue? This is like a weird COVID
it's a COVID
accommodation.
Thing. It's a COVID thing. And what I'll do is I'll address this on one of the last slides as we go into what the future looks like. Okay. And so now we come to the next slide, which has to do with the financials. Okay. So income is up. We're all happy, but why are we still losing so much money? And so it's a legitimate question. When this particular budget was put together, I actually put 13 different projections together for Chris and Sylvia and I to talk about, because when we put these projections together, we didn't know what this year was going to look like. We didn't know if we were serving on campus. We didn't know if we were serving in the classroom. We didn't know if we were going to be serving, period. We didn't really know anything. At that point, we didn't know what staffing was going to be required. I mean, if we were going to be taking food into each one of the classrooms, it meant we were going to have an additional 6 people per school in order to be able to get it from here to here to here. And so when we did these projections, we were very conservative because we just didn't know what the picture was going to look like. And so I think probably the bottom line, what I want to say is, in here, we built in some, oh my goodnesses. So for example, what if in January and everybody had a great Christmas holiday, winter break, and we could potentially have to shut a school down? We could potentially have to shut the district down. What happens if our participation goes up so high, we have to hire another 20 people? What if we can't hire those 20 people? So does that mean that all of our 4-hour people go to 8 hours and we have benefit packages to cover? And so there are built-in assumptions that we did several months ago that as we do the first, second, and third interim, we'll tune this up. And so so the question as to, well, shoot, you guys are like banking the money. Well, we are right now, but we don't know what it's going to look like. As we get to the challenges page, and I'm sure you've all read through the presentation, the challenges are crazy right now, and they're coming at us every single day. And so anyway, financially, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to report other stuff as we get through for second and third interim. So in our program, the way that we measure productivity is by meals per labor hour. And so generally speaking, anything between 20 and 30 meals per labor hour is typical. 30 is holy moly, they're working their heinies off, where 20, you really want to keep them in the 20s. And so as you can see, we, in 2017, we're 23, and then we dipped down. But if you remember trends from my last presentation in April, our participation was going down in 18, and then 19 hit, and then we hit, in the 1920 school year, and holy bejesus, we were only serving, 2,000, 3,000 meals a day, especially in the month of August last year. Last August was crazy. But as you can see, we're at 28.5. That's high. That's a high number. And so I think what I'm just saying is our folks are working really, really hard. I want to thank them for every single day, because as you all know, they have been there every single day. They have not stopped working every single day. And there are some sites that have more than tripled participation. And so with that tripled participation, at this point, we're not really adding labor to them. And so they're really working hard. And so anyway, we are going to be working with Tom and his group as far as, if we need to do some balancing in the kitchens as far as what participation is doing right now, so that we make sure that we're not overloading one kitchen and yet, and then another kitchen might not, anyway. So we'll be working with that because we want to make sure it's equitable for all of the kitchens, but they're doing a heck of a job. So now I'm going to get to the challenges. And when I was practicing this presentation, this was like a 40-minute, this slide was 40 minutes. So I'll try and abridge it. So yeah, I'll just cry by myself here. So I think the first one is the supply chain issues. And we, as John Q. Public, when we go to the grocery store, we're not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. When I go to the grocery store and I want my asparagus, or I want my milk, or I want my yogurt, I'm not having a problem with it. What's happening in the commercial industry, in the commercial world, and in particular in school food service, there is a huge problem. And it's because there is an increase in need, and school food service margin is like this much. And so what manufacturers are saying is, we're going to go to retail because we can make so much more money because the demand is there, we can charge for it, and we're just canceling contracts with school food service. So let me give you an example of that. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, we got a phone call. We were supposed to get a delivery from Tyson yesterday morning, didn't come, made phone calls, emails, couldn't get a hold of them. They sent an email to us. They canceled 7 pallets of beef and pork product, and we do not know when we will or will ever deliver it to you. That's over 100,000 meals. And so we were expecting those in yesterday to serve our kids October 4th, and it's not coming in. So now we need to find a vendor somewhere in the nation that's going to be able to help us cover that food. And oh, by the way, that's commodity processed. And some of you are probably too new to understand what I'm talking about, but the commodity processed items are the ones that are very reasonably priced for us because they're commodities coming from, they're donated to us, and then we're able to turn them into things. And so we're going to have to go from a commodity processed price of about 22 cents to a commercial price of probably 70 cents. So do you see what just happened to the profit and loss statement in an earlier slide? Anyway, so that happened. Okay, it started with poultry about 6 weeks ago. Now it's happening with beef, and especially when you get into those proteins, as one protein knocks off, then the next protein gets taxed, and then it gets the next one and the next one. And so we as an industry, I meet with my peers every Friday, and this is, we call it therapy now. It's no longer even a meeting, it's therapy because of just what happened to you this week. And so the meats are a huge problem right now. Our milk vendor at this point is only offering 2 types of milk because they can't switch the machines out. It costs them 150,000 units to switch from white milk to chocolate milk. And so what they've done is they have discontinued all strawberry. They're giving us white and chocolate, no strawberry and no more juice anymore because they just can't switch the machines out because of the demand that we need. And so our paper products are another one. They're just not showing up on the trucks when they come in. And so we're having to get creative in how to package things. Which comes to the next one, where when you look at the menu, our assortment on the menu, we're dependent on what we can get. And so, our menu, we develop a menu and we're very particular about developing the menu, but today, something that happens today changes it tomorrow. And so it just rolls. And so supply chain, huge issue. The next issue that we've had, and it's not an issue, it's just a challenge. It's just stuff that we deal with. And this is the staffing. We went 17 months of kind of weird, we were operating weird. Our folks were working typically about half-time anyway. And so then to have to come back to full-time, that was hard. That was hard to go, work a full day, 5 days a week, and have to do the numbers that we were talking about. During COVID, we didn't replace positions if somebody resigned or retired or left the district. We didn't fill positions because, again, we didn't need the hours. And so why pay the hours if we weren't using the hours? And so we got to the beginning of the school year and we had 16 open positions. And so what happens with the first 2 or 3 rounds of filling positions, we're just moving people from here to here, because there are the 8, 5, they're all the benefited positions. And so what we ended up doing for the first month of school is we were moving, George from Independence to Yerba Buena and Julie from Oak Grove to Evergreen. And so we've just done a lot of movement, but we haven't filled many positions because you fill this position, but you open this position. And so as of today, when I did the presentation, I said 9, we had another resignation. So as of today, we have 10 open positions and then 3 pending in HR. And so as soon as we can get paperwork through HR, we'll be down to 10. But every one of those points of service is easily 150 servings on the line when kiddos come to pick their food up. And so anyway, the other piece that has been interesting is just student workers. And didn't really get onto my radar until about June, where it was like, We don't have any of our kids from last year just to get the work permits and the TB test, and then they're working again. We had to go from scratch because we've gone 2 years without having kids really working with us. So we had to go to filling out full applications. And so that's a much longer process. And so anyway, we're anxious to get the students on board. Dietary needs, it's been a higher question that comes across my desk now. And that just has to do with allergens and vegetarian choices and gluten-free choices and being able to get it online so that folks know what they're eating and what's available. Another challenge has been equipment. So the example I'm going to use is Evergreen High School. Evergreen, in a typical pre-COVID, we served about 200 lunches a day. So 200 lunches a day, it means we need 4 cases of milk. Okay, so you've got 4 cases of milk, so it takes about this much room. Okay, our participation right now is over 800 lunches per day. Okay, so my cooler that I used to be able to handle my 4 cases of milk, I need to get 16 cases of milk into that same cooler that doesn't grow. And so the equipment is becoming a huge issue just to be able to store the product that we need. And the refrigeration and freezer are the big pieces. We have some schools though that the dry goods are also a problem. So when we used to use 2 cans of peaches, we now need to have a case of peaches. And so it means we need to have 5 cases of peaches in the storeroom rather than 1 case of peaches. Anyway, and so it just is the storage and such has been interesting, which then goes into, okay, oven space. Okay, I'm going to go back to Evergreen. If Evergreen had a kitchen, Julio said I had to say nice things about the bond program, and I'm going to. But Evergreen, so for example, Evergreen, if we were doing those 200 meals, we would probably be doing 100 of the nice entree choice. We'd be doing, 50, cheeseburgers, 50 spicy chicken sandwiches, and maybe 50 salads. Well, if I only have enough oven space to do 100 hot meals, and I'm now doing 800 meals, and I can only do 100 of them that are hot, we have to figure out how to get the other 700 meals prepared and out. And so the item that most of the kids want, we can't prepare it because we don't have the oven space to be able to prepare it. And so it's just these are the juggling acts that we're having to do in order to use our equipment as we are to meet the participation needs. And I'm not even talking about breakfast right now or supper. And so anyway, the one cool thing is we do have the opportunity for the state equipment grant. And so this is one that is coming on the radar right now that we're hoping will come through next year. And Chris and I kind of worked on it today, and it looks like each school district is going to get a minimum of $25,000. But then there's also going to be a nice bump then based on free and reduced percentage. And so as long as you're 50% or greater, which is a huge incentive for us to get that free and reduced percentage up, then there's going to be a bigger incentive. So it could potentially be over $200,000 for equipment in the kitchens next year as a one-time payment. So that could be very cool. The other thing we were trying to work with our vendors on is, let's go back to the milk. Okay, so we normally get 2 deliveries a week for milk. Well, why don't we just do a 5 days a week delivery for milk? So then we can have the same refrigeration space, Unfortunately, our vendors are having the same problems we are. They're not getting product. They have no drivers. Cisco and Crystal Creamery are having a heck of a time getting drivers just to come out to us. We were supposed to have a milk delivery at 9 o'clock yesterday morning. It didn't arrive until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And so our delivery folks are also not able to accommodate multiple deliveries for us. And so they're having the same problems that we're having. So we can't point the finger so much. It's something that we're just going to have to work through. And again, I love the bond program. I love what the bond program is doing for the food service program. When you talk about our student unions and the facilities and being the center part of No, I actually had this all set. He said, you're not going to bash me. And I said, no. And I actually have it down here. We love the bond program. But it's very difficult as we're going through the process of getting the facility. And so right now we have Evergreen and Andrew Hill that are under construction. And so I just have to, huge shout out to James Lick and Yerba Buena. They're the two schools that are picking up the service. And so James Lick is picking up about 1,500 more meals a day and producing them for Evergreen. And it's about the same number for Andrew Hill. And so Yerba Buena and James Lick have really stepped up to, as a team, to make sure that all of the kids of the district are getting serviced. So the reason that the menu is after the challenges is I wanted you to understand what we're dealing with when we talk about the menu. And so we really do want to have a diverse menu. We want diverse choices. We want to be able to offer vegetarian choices. We currently have the nutrient information. Well, we have the nutrient information as we know it today, and it changed, so it's going to change again. But we have nutrient information as well as allergen information, so families can get on and they can see that information and make educated choices for themselves and their kids. Prior to COVID, we offered anywhere from 7 to 9 entree choices. And because of what we have going on for lunch, we're doing 4 to 5. And if we have staffing issues, if we have storage issues, if we have delivery issues, it could go down to 3. It all depends. Santa Teresa, last week, 2 people called in sick. We had 2 people to prepare for that whole campus. And so, and we have nobody just to say, oh, can you go? Oh, can you go? Because we are working at capacity right now. And so we're doing the best that we can. And we will continue to do the best that we can. We can't wait to go back to scratch cooking again. We can't wait. We are doing some, we're doing some of the scratch cooking, but again, it's dependent on oven space, stovetop space and such, and staffing. We also want to go back to the plated choices because it looks so much more appetizing than the prepackaged food. And so, especially with the student unions that we have, so that we can get back to that. We're excited about doing that. Okay, so as far as our future looks, California Meals for All, and I'm sure you've read or heard about starting in 2022-23, it looks like California has passed, and it's Skinner, has passed legislation to provide free meals to anybody on campus. And that's wonderful. There are challenges with that, unfortunately. Because it's the state of California, the state of California is only going to reimburse us the difference between the free reimbursement and the reduced or the paid, which means we have to go back to a point of service. So it means, okay. So the state of California will pay the difference between the free reimbursement. And I'm going to make it really simple. Let's say our free reimbursement is $4. Okay. It's a little less than, but it's late. And so to keep my numbers, I have to do that. Okay. So the reduced reimbursement is $2. It means that the state will pay the difference between the 4 and the 2. They'll pay the $2 difference to get the reduced reimbursement up to the $4. And the same thing for the paid. And so let's say the paid kids, we get a dollar. It's not near that, but okay, it's $1. They would pay the $3 difference to get us to that. But what it means is we have to know what student eats the meal. So we go back to a point of service. And so unfortunately, that's where the lines start again. And we'll have to go back to the ID cards, scanning the ID cards, where right now, kiddo walks up and he says, I'll take it. They get it. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And that's why we can get 800 kids through lines at Evergreen in 20 minutes. It's because we don't have to do the scanning of cards and processing the meal and, oh, I don't see your ID in here. Oh, you're inactive, or whatever can happen with the point of service. And so it's wonderful legislation. What we're really hoping, as Julie Kasperger, I'm really hoping that the feds are going to step up, USDA will step up and really give some money to it, because there has been a realization through COVID, food really should be a part of the educational day. And I see a nod over there.
If the students pre-order the food, does that help in the calculation, or all it does is it's just add another line item?
The pre-ordering the food is strictly being able to get it out to multiple locations to pick up. We still are going to have to do the ID. So when they come to pick their meal up, we're still going to have to shoot it to make sure that that's the wrong word in this world. We still have to scan that ID to make sure that Julie's getting Julie's lunch rather than getting Brian's lunch. Yeah. And so anyway, so hopefully the feds will be able to step up and be able to do something from a more global standpoint so that we can get kids fed. If a kid's hungry, feed a kid. I don't care what your zip code is or your address or whatever. Anyway, again, Julie Kasperger. We are wanting to continue to increase participation. And as we get every one of those student cashiers online, they are going to help us do that. We know changes what's going to happen. So we know that we have to continue to be flexible and be ready for change for whatever the next change is. We're really excited about getting some a la carte programs up and running again. And we actually have identified a couple of schools that we think we're going to be able to probably in October, be able to start getting some limited a la carte choices out there. And we really are wanting to get back to the scratch cooking where we're doing the good, pozole and the pho and the really that we're so proud of, and the program and the folks out in the kitchens do such a great job doing. And that is all I have formally on my presentation.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Julie Kasper, for your presentation. I know it's a lot of works, especially I know that I've been visiting, some of the high school, and I always want to visit the cafeteria, and especially the line. But I heard that they still have the line. Tomorrow I'm going to visit Independence, and I want to see how long does the student have to wait online. I already talked to Principal Independence already to see how can we move up the line so the student can get the food. But I'm really wondering that the difference between now the pandemic, after a year and 3 months, and now the student come back to school, reopening school, and the food, the food line will be open for every student. That's going to be a really big challenge for staff, for food. And you mentioned earlier that you probably don't have, enough commodity to work with, because it's very scary right now that I think the food is also, the price has been increased, tremendously, because I've been going to the grocery store, and I look into this, oh wow, it's been like a couple months ago, if I buy something, and now is the price been increased, and I wouldn't notice until when I get out of the reception, when you pay the bill. But my part is how could we keep, the food still warm, right, for the student? Because I know that you've been shown a couple food like the soup, as well as, some sandwiches, it's probably easy to make, but you have a lot of choice for the student. So how could you, help, maybe minimize during the time that we don't have enough beef, or we don't have enough commodity? Would you think is any other way to, work with the recipe to help, deliver maybe sandwiches, maybe faster than the real food for the student?
Okay, so I heard a lot of stuff there. So I'm going to start with the keeping the food hot and serving hot foods. Right now, we're not doing any soups just because it's too labor intensive for the numbers that we're talking about. But as far as providing hot food hot and cold food cold, we're serving out of our regular serving lines. So we have heating units that we're pulling the hot sandwiches out of, and the spaghetti out of. We're pulling them out of refrigeration, and so the foods are at temp. And so we're no longer serving out in the parking lots. And so it's all being done in the, so were you going to be at Independence? Somebody's going to be at Independence tomorrow.
Me.
Yeah, okay. So at Independence tomorrow, you'll see that they'll be in Villa A, Villa D, and Villa C. And so
Okay.
you'll see that they've got their warming units right there and they'll be serving right out of their normal areas. So then the next question I think I understood was, okay, we aren't getting 7 pallets of beef and pork
Right.
tomorrow. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
I'm going to be horribly honest with you right now. I don't know. Because I really didn't have time to even get my arms around it, because when I found out about it at 4 o'clock and I was trying to finish up getting ready for this, and I just haven't really had an opportunity to even get my arms around it. We'll figure something out. It will always happen. And so we'll have food on the table on October the 4th. And so, if it means we get into a truck and we drive to Omaha, Nebraska to pick up hamburger patties, that's what we'll do.
And Board
And
President-
again, there goes that bottom line again.
So Board President, thank you for that, Carmen. I want to just remember we had a certain amount of time allocated for this item that we're
Sure.
past that. But with that said, I do want to thank that with all the challenges that were listed, the staff has been incredible in superseding those and finding ways to overcome. And where Ms. Gasperger says right now, I don't know, we'll know, but we will find a solution. With the numbers that are almost double from what we've done in the past, we've been able, and with the issues of supply chain, our students are being fed. And I want to thank the staff and all their wherewithal for getting that done. It's an incredible service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Presentation.
I just want to make a quick comment. I just want to thank Julie for the presentation, but also for the amazing attitudes. We're going to make it happen. I love it. I know this is an absolutely incredible challenges because you have unpredictable supply, you have unpredictable prices that obviously skyrocket in many areas. And so I love that attitude. And I also do remember receiving that email from you. I sent an email at 2 in the morning. She replied at 8 in the morning on my birthday. So thank you very much. That was a really nice touch.
Happy belated birthday.
And I only remember that because I think Chris Chu gave me some of that information 8-9 months prior to that. So shout out to you, Chris, for educating me.
Thank you. No other question, comment? Really appreciate it, Julie Casper, and also all staff working behind the cafeteria and the service line. All right, move on to 14.01, approve request for use of education code section 44258.3, teachers on special assignment authorization for 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Well,
We forgot to ask, we need to ask our
Verena.
student board rep to vote first.
Oops, student board rep needs to vote.
Oh, yeah, student board representative. How do you vote?
You could say yes, I approve, anything you want to say.
Yes, I approve.
Awesome. Lorena step away, so all in favor? Say aye. So we have 4, no abstention, but just Lorena step away. So we move on to consent calendar 16 to
Move for
20.
Approval of the consent calendar.
Board, student board representative, how do you vote?
Yeah, I approve.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Board member Lorena Chavez just step away from her desk. So move on to 21. We have 2101 is item under 21 written report. So I received into the public record, so no action is taken by the board. So we move to 21.02. We receive quarterly report on the County of Santa Clara Treasury Investment Portfolio as of June 2021. And 21.03 is receive report of board members' expense for April, May, June for fiscal year 2021. And Mr. Christio, so I don't think I have anything, we don't have to take any action because this is a written report. So 22.01, opportunity for board trustee to request item on future agendas. Anyone has any future item that want to add? Okay, if no, and we move on to 23.01. Board member Patty Cotesi on my right-hand side. Yeah.
I'm going to defer most of my time to our new student, board representative, but I mean, certainly the highlight of my week was being with the student assembly as they voted for their executive board, and we have an incredible student governing board and a particularly incredible student governing board executive team. I'm just so excited to be working with all of you. This is going to be an incredible year.
Awesome. Board member Herrera?
Yeah, I don't know if we were going to have a time during the meeting, but I want to acknowledge that Mr. Chris Chu is going to be, well, today is his real last day, even though technically it's tomorrow, but he's returning to the Cupertino School District as their chief financial officer. And the board had an opportunity in the executive session to really acknowledge and express our appreciation for his service with our district. So wishing you well, Mr. Chris Chu. Thank you.
All right, board member Doe.
I'd like to take this moment of welcoming our new student rep. I know she's going to be amazing. I know that in the few meetings that I attended in the student board that I'm allowed to attend before we realize there's a risk of the Brown Act, I did recognize that she will be a great representative of the students' interests here on the board. So I'm very excited for that. And I also want to take the opportunity to wish Mr. Chris Chu much success and happiness at the Cupertino. But if you're not happy, the door is always welcome. Please come on, consider coming back here. And thank you for all the time that you invested in my knowledge, my understanding of the budget. So thank you, sir.
Board member Chavez.
Thank you. Bienvenida otra vez. Paula, excited to have you. Mr. Ju, you will be missed. Thank you for your service. Like we said, you know, the door is always open. You never know. Also want to say thank you to our community who came out today and spoke their truth. Want you to know that we are committed to investing in our community and our children and their needs. And I truly do believe that our district is moving in the right direction and we're moving together, which is what is really important as a family, as a community. And I'm excited to continue doing so. We have amazing leadership that is leading the way, and with our children and our families, there's no better combination than that. So I'm really looking forward to continuing that journey together. Also want to say thank you to some of the schools that I've started to visit. So I started my school visits again. Everybody's on the calendar. So I want to say so far, thank you to Oak Grove, Santa Teresa, and Independence, Phoenix, and Pegasus for hosting me on their campus. Per usual, the students lighten up my day. They brighten up my day. It's a reminder of why we do the work, even when you're tired and sometimes you question some things. You see a student and you're like, yeah, you're why. So thank you to the schools for hosting that. I mean, walking through the periods, there were some of the schools that had music and I was like, oh, this feels good. I like this. Just putting myself in, the student shoes. Like I was telling Julie, grabbing brunch with them, grilled cheese, Camila's favorite meal. That little girl, Camila's my daughter, by the way, getting grilled cheese for lunch, breakfast, and dinner every day. Special shout out and thank you to Oak Grove for giving me a jersey. I would have worn it today. Oak Grove, you're cool, but I don't have any favorites. Every East Side school is awesome, even though I am a Warrior. I do want to take a note to just give a shout out to Dr. Marron. Also, as first year principal, it is hard as heck, especially coming back in this period in time where just we're trying to figure out what is education, right? And just seeing him walk through campus, I was like, yeah, own it, do your thing, love on those kids, support those kids. And I saw him in action, so that was really amazing. Walked into a few classrooms, which is awesome, where kids like impromptu just started, saying, Mrs. Chavez, I want to advocate for this policy, for that policy. I was like, all right, let's do this. Was not on, the agenda, but then, those are some of the most beautiful moments. So I was very grateful to experience that, seeing kids dance. I could see some of the kids doing ballerina moves at Independence. I was like, wow, this is one of the most important reasons why our children should be on campuses, to be able to do that, to dance freely amongst their classmates. And it's another reminder. And I have to say, the last image I will share is, one of the things as an educator that I think is really important is that we meet literally and figuratively our students where they're at. And I saw some teachers literally be like this, eye to eye with the students, meeting them where they were in a rigorous assignment. They were with them. And that is another reason why I'm like, yes, this is why it's important that we're together in our school side. So thank you to all of our educators. Thank you for our ESA community for making this possible for our students and for our families too. It doesn't go unseen, and you're very much appreciated. So schools tomorrow, really looking forward to spending a few hours at each site.
Right. For my part, I want to say thank you to board members, Lorena Chavez and Patty Cortese, and the Superintendent Glenn Van Der Zee attend the Moon Festival. Also want to appreciate Veba, Esther, parents, teachers, students who contribute to the success of the Moon Festival. We cannot do alone. I'm really appreciated. Mary Gillen also worked hard for those certificate to the organizing committee member. They really appreciate that. Another thank you I want to share with you that I want to appreciate Julio Lucas from the bond manager, also Roger Silvera, Ken Tran, Alex Morrison, Kevin Rivera, Santander, A.G. Giota, who helped put those tents. So this community member has had the shade at the basketball court, just very hot. They've been worked very hard to try out a couple of days before, and I'll come back and put it up on Friday along with my husband. And also, I want to appreciate all the custodian have been worked very hard for the day of the event as well as the day before, especially like Minvu, Mike Abrigo, Gerardo Contreras, George Ramos Padilla, Mike Clapp, Rafa Flores. They being contributed to the success of the Moon Festival, especially Principal Mary Paulette. And I'm really proud of our student, and a feeder district. If you see that one of this little kid that performed is very beautiful, and the proceed of my past birthday as well as the Moon Festival, we bring back about 12,000 to the McKinney Vento. All right, that's a lot of works, but I think it's Mr. Van Der Zee has the other 4,000. I have another check for you, 8,000. But I received an email from Franklin McKinley, Superintendent Juan Cruz. The board of Franklin McKinley would like to recognize me and those involved in putting on the annual Moon Festival for our community. So they want to present, I think, a commendation, a thank you or something. But I'm really glad that will be next Tuesday, September 28th at 7 p.m. But technically, is the whole overall, the Moon Festival really showcase our students. And that's why I will come tomorrow, visit Independence to attend one of the class that won the lantern, making lantern contest. from the class of teacher Jack Arriago at STEAM Academy Intro to Design classes. And you know that I have not recovered from the event, but in my speech, I did mention that the McKinney event will start with former Superintendent Chris Fung and myself. We championed it, and this is the 10th anniversary year. And I also acknowledge Julie Kasberger and her staff and student services have been organized in the last 9 years. For this year, 10th anniversary, probably we have to cook something different, right? We have something a little bit more special for our student. I'm going to give you a heads up. But anyway, I really value all of the works of the help from our East Side. Everyone has made it different for the community. So I am proud of this. We have a lot of politicians have been there, from Congressman Rokana to State Senator Dave Cotizzi to Board Supervisor Otoli, City Council, Chief of Police, all the board member from Feeder District also join us. So, and I really feel that, we did serve the whole community, all community get together. When I first started organize this event, and I was kind of wondering, oh my gosh, during the pandemic, are they coming? We have so much restriction with the counting for the food truck. There's a lot of challenge that we have to be through, but we overcome all of those obstacles. But we made it for our student, for our feeder district, for our community. That's something I'm really proud of Eastside, and I'm part of it. So that's my report. I also want to thank you, Mr. Chris Giu for CBO. Thank you for your service. We will miss you, and looking forward, maybe someday you come back and visit us. If you don't feel like you want to work with us, but at least, maybe share some best practice to our next CBO. That's something that we've been working so hard to keep our number tight so we can provide all of the service to our student. So that's my reports. I'm going to invite Student Governor Board representative, the first board meeting that Paula Escobar will be involved. How do you feel about what's your thought about this meeting? We hope we don't scare you. We welcome you and hope don't. Okay, go ahead, Paula.
Once again, I just wanted to thank everyone for just being so welcoming, and it's for my first meeting, so I'm definitely getting used to the format, and I think definitely at the next meeting I'll be able to be more engaged, because I'm now more familiarized with the board processes and procedures and all that. And I know for the next meeting we're probably gonna actually have more stuff to discuss in terms of student governing board, because now I can make the agendas in collaboration with the other executive team members. So shout out to them as well, and just everyone in SGB. And in order, I don't know if this is my time to give a comment as well, but I just also really wanted to shout out just the students at Eastside for just powering through the transition back to in-person school, which has been different for everyone in so many different levels. And despite all these changes happening around us, I think I see so much resilience in our students. And with that, I'm so kind of grateful for them, and I'm so excited for everything and for their accomplishments, for everything that they do. And I'm super excited for the district, and I'm super excited for the board, and ready for the next meeting, definitely. And again, thank you for everyone here and for just being so welcoming.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula Escobar. Welcome. Thank you for your presence here today. We love you. All right. So the next one is Glenn Vanderzee, Superintendent.
First of all, I want to say thank you and wish you well, Mr. Ju, as you transition to Cupertino. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I thank you for all that you've given to our district and our community. I also want to thank the organizers of the Moon Festival. Fantastic. Love making that lantern every year, and we truly appreciate the generosity of the entire community that results in a donation for our McKinney-Vento event, and for supporting our students during an important time of the year where they can focus their resources on what it takes to stay viable in this area and still have something extra because of the donations from that group. So thank you for that. Next week is vacation. And I don't think it's ever been more deserved. I just want to say, I mean, when we were meeting last spring and over the summer and thinking about ISP and our HVAC system's going to be set up with the filters, what's the PPE going to be like? When is the state actually going to declare what the rules are going to be? There was a lot left up for our community to determine on our own and get right. And there was a lot of personal insecurity and anxiety on staff and families and students' part of, I want to be back. Will the people around me mask up? I want to be back. What happens if someone says no? I want to be back. Are we all going to stay safe? I don't want to be back. I've been away for 17 months. This has worked out for my family as a provider, or this has worked out for me as a student on my own without having to worry about people around me. In both directions, there was anxiety and cause for worry and a need for a community to step up, take on a challenge, clearly recognize that there were normalizations that had to occur. 11,000 students attending a high school at the first time had to learn that experience and expectations. Adults having to get used to being back with students. That's real. Like, that's just real work. And as we move to the vacation next week for our staff and for our students, I just want to thank you all for the way you showed up on the first day and welcomed everybody as they are, figured it out, and made it work under very unique conditions where there were shortages in place, where students emotionally and staff emotionally needed supports. And we've done amazing work together. And I know that there's some criticisms, and I know that there's some frustrations, and I know that there might be some challenges and resources and shortcomings. But as Eastside, we look at that, we own it, and we move forward. And I'm really excited about the work that we're going to continue to do as a community when we come back ready to move forward. To all our classified and certificated staff who worked all last year, making it happen, getting ready this summer. I just want to thank you specifically, said the way that we've met as a total community with students present. Thanks for the way you did this first portion of our year. And I just can't wait to work with you again when we come back from the break.
I'm glad that Superintendent said very good remarks. And I think it's, I hope that staff will have take some time to be able to relax for the whole week coming up. Julio would like to say a few words.
Yes, students.
Don't answer that, please.
Yes, students will be on vacation.
Well, but you could use have to take vacation, but I can't even take my vacation. Yes, I'm still working, but I forgot one thing is the organizing committee would like to invite those has been contribute to the success of the Moon Festival to the thank you party on October 10, and I will send out the invitation later to Eastside and also those staff and and people have been supported. So the next 23.04 board meeting evaluation. I think we have very good 2 presentations. I know we take a little bit more time, but it's very important that we've been revisited. So I think it's, with the time that we spend, I think it's well worth it. So we move on to 24.01 legal counsel will report on closed session action.
Mr. Ruiz, are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
We heard you.
Yes, closed session item 2.02, motion by member Cortese, second by member Chavez. The board unanimously approved a stipulated expulsion agreement for student 21-22-04. There are no other reportable actions.
All right, no more other business, and we will meet this Saturday for board retreat at James Lake. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.